All right, so Ricardo, unfortunately, I did not get a chance to watch Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Didn't even hear anything about the finale as yet. But my hope, before I shut up, my hope is that the fans, the Trekkies,
Yeah.
at least appreciate the show, right? I know, there are those who did not enjoy Discovery. I thoroughly enjoy Discovery, and I'm speaking as a non-Trekkie. I know you have your issues with it, but I still enjoyed it for what it did. And just in terms of, showing why this franchise has, stood the test of time, right? I think that's why for me I really enjoyed it, right? But yeah, of course the franchise had to grow and evolve, right? And that's one thing that
Right.
I always admire about Star Trek to begin with, right? How it grows, how it evolves, right? So yeah, Starfleet Academy, haven't heard anything about the full season or the season finale. But yeah, Ricardo, take it away. Yeah, if you don't mind, you could just give us a rundown again. Can you already talk about the first couple episodes?
Yeah.
But yeah, a rundown in terms of what the season was about.
I thought this was solid, all things considered.
All right, nice.
As I mentioned before, like I totally stay out of the online discourse about it. Like for the most part, a couple of Reddit comments and nice about it. I had no time for that bullshit. I'm too big for that, right? But I dug it for what it was. They was pushing for the show for ages. So like it have an old video game called Starfleet Academy back in '97, which I got for Christmas.
Nice.
And I remember playing that, and you could run through. You could go on YouTube and find the whole video of it, and it plays with that conceit. It's like, yeah, it's about kids. The big selling point of this is it's in the 32nd century now, or the 31st, it's like 32nd century. 32nd century now, and they jump to the big future, so now is everything reset in terms of the Star Trek universe. And with Discovery, I wasn't into it, but this sold me on that. And that's why I was digging the hell in it. When it comes to the finale itself and the season, I'll say a little bit. It is a little cliche, right? I know a lot of people complaining, trying to be Euphoria. Yeah, a little bit. I understand where they're coming from with that. And it does feel a little rushed at parts. And then a common complaint that I somewhat agree with is emotionally it feels a lot more high school than college age. But because the characters are year ones, I could let that slide. But I thought for the most part, it have a couple of really solid episodes. The character that stand out for me is Sam. This girl is this like hologram girl, but you're not sure why she was made, and it's from this planet that kind of weird. And they had a whole thing involving, one episode was involving Tawny Newsome. She makes a cameo, and she makes a great, interesting cameo. And it's her making a reference as quote unquote the emissary. And once you hear the word emissary, and what the reference is, and that episode is excellent. Basically involving a DS9 reference. That's all you need to know. Right. And then I thought that episode was pretty good. They did also a great episode involving Sam again, where she was hologram matrix was on the fritz, and they had to solve. She was basically going to break down and die, and they had to carry her back to the home planet. And the doctor Robert Ricardo comes along with the main captain Ake, and this was a great episode too, mostly because of the visuals and the sci-fi aspect. And it's so weird and offbeat, but like what they do with it emotionally is really strong stuff. And they put it in the context of this old play. I'm like, hey, all of this, I'm digging all of this, and I vibe in it as this is. And yeah, I like it more than I don't like it. Like the stuff that I don't like is stuff that you could work around, you could hammer out, you could just smooth off the edges. It's more season one roughness, again, cliched pacing, that kind of stuff. So it don't bother me. The cast is great. As I said, I really like this new cast. I like it, how they look like. The main guy, as I say, played, I forget the actor's name, but Caleb Mayer, I really like this character. Right, he just look, they have him framed and the way he's looking, to borrow from these young kids. I forget what it's called. He mugging everybody, right? I don't want to use that term is a problematic term. I don't know. Whatever. But he's supposed to be like a kind of Captain Riker or Kirk look. But the character is not a command character. He's an ops character, which I really like. And they play with that because him and oh gosh, I'm forgetting Tig Notaro's name. The character from her character, she's the engineer. But they're doing engineer stuff. And I like that. And so they're making that work and for what it is. And yeah, I really like the show for what you're trying to do. Jet Reno, that's a character. She comes from Discovery. She's great in Discovery. She's good in this too as a good side character. The character who everybody complained about, I actually really like her a lot. This is a character that's supposed to be mixed with a Klingon and a Jem'Hadar. And it's like, well, you can't have no female Jem'Hadar. It's like, well, it's 800 years, so they could probably explain it maybe. They'll explain it eventually. I dug that too. And I was like, okay, she's really funny and well done. The main character, Ake, Captain Ake, she's great as well. This is Holly Hunter. She's really good, like, as a center character. And when her emotions with Caleb and why they're working. The final episode, they brought back the mother into play. They explain everything. This is Tatnia Maslany. She's really good in this. That episode, I thought she and Hunter and what they do it there, I thought I had a lot of fun with that. Especially in context with Caleb. The only weak link is the main villain, Brocker. What is Lance Brocker, Hans Brocker, something like that. Giamatti is great in the role. He hamming it up fine. But the characterization is pretty undercooked. And really his only purpose was to work like a first season villain foil. Basically he's a shonen anime intro villain. It's just to start the story. That's his purpose. And a lot of that, like him being a critic of the Federation, especially in the context of what happened to him, and then you find out some truth about him. I thought that was kind of pretty clumsy. Especially if the idea is to critique the Federation. And I think in the context of this show, the idea of bringing back the Federation and critiquing the Federation don't really work all that well, to be honest. Because the idea is to, justify the Federation existence and why it have to come back, but then at the same time in this bad period, and what we had to do. And there's a lot of real world political allusions, like this character is clearly allusion to this character, this politician or whatever it is. That's fine. It's typical Star Trek. Star Trek do that shit all the time, but it's fine. But I don't know. Like ultimately, it works mostly because it's the soft reboot that we finally getting into the soft reboot, and because it is a new world, and 800 plus years to pass from the last time we see it. I hyped. I want to see more of this. I want to see more of this. This show won me over with the new setting of Star Trek. Star Trek is moving on. I don't need Nepo baby Star Trek. I don't really care for that. If they make that and it's good, fine. But I'm not into that. Give me this new show. Build from this. Hopefully they'll get better writing going forward. And they can build from it going forward. And we don't know, like the whole thing kind of maybe going kibosh with who buy out Skydance and who buy out Paramount and whatever it is and all of that billionaire chicanery going on. But I don't know. I thought this was okay. I know we get at season 2. We'll see after that. I like it. I thought it's good. In many ways it reminds me of Prodigy, but it's Prodigy but older, and I dig in that for it is. I dig it. Ratings, so far like about a good 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. It looked good, special effects look good, this anybody. As I said, it's a first season hiccup show, and most of the stuff that's bad I could let slide and not have a big issue with. Because it's stuff that you could smoothen out over time. If they give it a chance. And TNG only get good in season 3 in my opinion. So, whatever. Moving on. Next. Liked it.
Alright, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, on the subject of, as they say, shonen anime, we might as well talk about season 2 of Netflix's One Piece, which I make the joke on Facebook, is basically the Cowboy Bebop apology tour that's still going on, right? Yeah, so we got the second season, a couple of days ago, the time of us recording this, right? And here's the thing, it is a good thing that I recapped the first season, right? I had a little time, from work, so I was able to recap the first season. And I will say both seasons make for some solid, day-long binges. It just flows so well, right?
I went into this, because I enjoyed season 1.
Right.
But I was like, they get it right. But then this one, because, this comes from somebody who's not familiar with One Piece.
Same
right? Out of the 3 shonen, I'm very familiar with Naruto, very, very familiar with Bleach, but I never get into One Piece. I like One Piece enough. I appreciate its greatness. Like, if you tell me One Piece is the best of the 3, yeah, okay, fine. I don't want to fight you down because I don't know enough about One Piece to tell you. But I never get into it personally. So it's like, all right, my personal favorite is Bleach. You know that. You know why.
Yeah, of course.
But I just think that this does such a good job of it. Like, for the little I watch of One Piece, this feels like it nails the tone of that show so well. And, this is why I don't really, not really worried for that Street Fighter movie, because that Street Fighter movie feel like it's doing that. It feel like what this doing for One Piece. I went
right.
Right. And it's way better than the Cowboy Bebop, right? So it's like,
yeah. And I was honestly trying to remember why I did not like that Cowboy Bebop adaptation. Right. And this is coming from somebody who loves Cowboy Bebop, right? That's one of my all-time favorite anime series, right? But yeah, it's a good thing that I recapped that first season, because this one does not hold your hand and remind you of things that went down, and I appreciate that, right? So what this season is about, right? Alright, so I will try to keep things short and spoiler free, right? But it leads to a particular issue that I have with the show. But when I explain why it was an issue for me and how they kind of justify it, it will make sense, right? So yeah, so basically our heroes, the straw hat pirates, sorry, are on their way to the Grand Line, right? This is basically the equator of the world of One Piece. Yeah, where they're going to find the titular One Piece, right? They run into various characters, right? One of which is this princess whose father is involved in some civil war in their country. So she's trying to get back, right? But at the same time, she was working with an assistant of her father. They were like behind the scenes and they were working for this shadowy organization called Baroque Works, right? And we see some of these characters. Well, they were actually introduced near the end of the first season, but now we're seeing them in full form, right? One or two of them just sort of pop up to just get the ass wash, which is weird. But I guess, a fan will come and tell me, oh, that character actually will come back later on, right? I think, yeah, that's how it works, right? But yeah, a couple of characters show up to just get the ass wash. That's what happened, right? But yeah, there are a few of them who actually have a huge part to play, right? So there's stuff involving the princess, right? And there's also, this character who's introduced by the name of Chopper, right? Fan favorite character. I didn't even know about this character till, I literally saw the teaser for this new season, right? And that character is introduced near the end of the season, right? So we get to see his backstory and how he eventually becomes part of the crew, right? Slight spoiler, right? I mean, for those who don't know, right? But if I could just get to my main gripe with this, right? Again, just as Ricardo say, I know Naruto enough. I know Bleach way more. I'm not big on One Piece. For me, I've only studied the first, 5-10 episodes. Like the first, that was just because, a couple friends of mine who are huge fanboys of this. Sorry, but you all are fanboys, admitted. But yeah, they put me onto it, right? But I think it's just the amount of episodes. Because this is past 1,000 episodes. That's hard. I can't sit down and watch all this stuff. At least with Bleach and Naruto.
If you want to make the effort, you could get One Piece. Look up One Piece. Where
that's a YouTube channel or something?
No. This is an editor of One Piece, a proper editor of One Piece that is fixed, like the editing thing. So it's fixed all the piece, and I think it has cut most of the fluff and filler and all the fat out, and then so you can watch that. And I hear that is a good way to catch up with it.
Okay.
I can watch One Piece if you could find the time.
Alright. I've always wondered if I should watch the anime or watch the manga or read the manga, sorry. I always wondered if that's a better way from which way is better for me to learn about the world of One Piece, right? But I don't know. Yeah, so for me, right, I thoroughly enjoyed this season, right? Just as much as the first season, right? And I'll get to the positives in a bit, right? But I want to talk about the main gripe I had with this, right? But like the first season, this is 8 episodes. But unlike the first season, this felt, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but there are some character arcs that I thought were going to be sorted out. And they weren't. Now, the thing is, everything that you see visually and all the action and all the story beats and everything, fans of the manga and the anime will say, well, that's how it was. Right. So you'll see more of this character, you'll see more of this and more of this later on. You'll see more of Baroque Works later on. But I don't know, compared to last season where I felt like it stopped off at a particular point, it had a start and an end, right? And then, from there was just, let's go to the Grand Line, right? Here was, we started everything, but we having all these side adventures and introducing new characters. But I was asking myself, at least some of these story arcs, some of them do wrap up, right? But then there's the main ones. Right. I was like, okay, a main one gonna at least wrap up? Because we have one involving Captain Smoker, who's one of my favorite characters. His skill set is kind of dope. The mere fact that this man always have 2 cigars in his mouth, it's kind of badass, right? But yeah, I thought, there's him, and there's this upstart who works alongside him, who just so happens to be similar, she looks similar to Zoro's friend, right? From when they were younger, because they said that she died, but we never really saw how she died, right? And I thought that they were at least gonna explain if she might possibly be a relative of that person, but they never do that, right? So they're doing that. They're doing the whole Baroque work stuff and the agenda that they have. then you have the princess and what going on in She Country, and all these things, right? But I just felt like they didn't wrap up. They just sort of stop at a certain point and say, okay, that's the end of the season. I guess we have to wait 2 more years until season 3 is wrapped up, production, and then we'll see what happens next, right?
But they had what work as well as with this, like they get some good guest stars in this as well. It's like, oh, you in this? And like, oh,
yeah, they get David, the polka dot man. I was like, what? Like, you in this? What? And,
and as number 3. And then this guy, what's her name? Katie Sackhoff. Katie Sackhoff?
No. Katie Segal.
Katie Segal, right.
Yeah, Segal
from Leela.
Yeah. From Sons of Anarchy, Married with Sharon. Yeah. She was great in that. I didn't expect to see in that, right? But yeah, that's my main gripe with it too, is that I felt like there were a lot of arcs that just stop, But, the fans will come and say, well, you see, One Piece is so massive and there's all these arcs that's going on, all these stories that's going on. So you're not going to wrap everything up in 8 episodes. And I can't come and say, oh, you could take this out and take this out, because I honestly think that everything, like the flow-wise, like all these stories, played out exactly how it did, like in the anime and manga. I have a strong feeling that's what they did, right? So I think that they are playing things beat for beat, page by page, episode by episode, right? Anime-wise, right? But still, a part of it feels like you could have wrapped something. Well, they do wrap a few things up, right? Don't get me wrong, they do it. But I just felt like some of the major arcs were just sort of left. And just like, oh, well, I guess in the next season we'll see what happens next. So like, all right, if you say so. So that sort of held it back for me, right? That being said, though, I really enjoyed this, though. I didn't binge the entirety of this. I just watched like the first 7 episodes, and then I watched the finale this morning at the time of us recording this, right? And just how it flows, though, absolutely works, right? Cinematography, great. Production design, though, great, though. You could tell that Netflix spent a lot of money, yeah? Even in the VFX, because, yes, there are some points where you're watching VFX like, can I do? I don't know.
The part where oh gosh, I forget the thing where the only part that look particularly kind of off is with the I forget the creature is like
the wheel, right?
Well, that. But
yeah, I felt the wheel. I don't know. Like a part of me like, okay, I understand we're in a fancy wheel, but I don't know. It's something about just being nitpicking. Yeah. Sorry, folks. Yeah, the texture of the wheel just looked off to me.
Yeah, that's probably because of James Cameron, right?
Yes.
You put him out too high, right?
Yeah,
no, the other one I was thinking is the fella flying with the machine gun. With the flying on the bird.
Oh gosh, I forget. It's an otter. Yeah, right.
Like an otter or weasel or something like that, right? That looked a little off.
Right, and he had this bird and the boat was rocking machine guns. Yeah, So yes, it's not like it's not like ILM work on this, right? It's not like, right. It's not Stranger Things money as yet. I feel like with the subsequent seasons, then you could get ILM to come through, right? Because that's what they did when they came through the final season of Stranger Things, right? But yeah, it's still the budget, though. You could see that, though. You could tell that they pump real cash into this, right? And one thing I really admire about the show, though, is that they respect the material. They don't half-ass anything at all. They put a lot of effort to this, right? Costume design is on point. Last time, I was talking about the whole cosplay thing, but I think it actually works here to the point that I could see non-One Piece fans watching this and saying, hey, I want to dress up like this character, and so on and so forth, right? I would say performances great across the board. Everybody puts the effort in, especially the lead himself, right? Enaki Godoy, right? Who plays Monkey D. Luffy, right?
Right.
So convincing, so likable as, Monkey D. Luffy, right? And for one thing, I like that his character is tested, especially this optimism, the optimism that he has, and, the goal about being king of the pirates. Yeah, there's numerous moments where that optimism is tested, and I was like, yeah, I like that, right? So yeah, this is, as to be expected, a slightly darker season than this one here, right? Characters are really put on their lives are put on the line here, and you're really because you care about these characters and because it's so well fleshed out, right? Whether it's Nami or Zoro or Usopp or Saji, right? Yeah, they're just so likable and so well fleshed out, right? That when they are put at risk or at danger, you feel for them, right? Also, I do applaud the show for just going all in on the material and say, listen, you might find the shit to be weird, you might find the shit to be goofy, but listen, this is a show. Love it or hate it, this is the show. There are moments where where certain things are given dramatic gravitas. There's other moments where it's like, okay, this is just so silly. But like, listen, like if that's a show, fine, right? So that was me. Like, okay, this is really weird.
Yeah. One Piece,
Very
One Piece
WTF,
visually is like
but
really out
if
there.
that's a show, okay.
It was always out there. So it's like whatever.
Yeah. So you have to applaud Netflix for doing this, right? You could tell like they learned from, especially Cowboy Bebop, because I think for what I remember, the little that I remember, they really tried hard to just, even though that show is not weird, right? Like, it's not too weird, right? But they had to try to, like dilute the source material so much that you have to believe everything that you see here. You can't just like adapt it and just let it be what it is, right? Like you could tell like they really try to make it more palatable to non-fans, but it just didn't work, right? This one was like, listen, this is for the fans, yes, but like non-fans like me could watch it and appreciate it, right? And I know that there'll be people who just watch this and find it's weird and makes no sense, but no, for one thing, that's the show, one. But also, because the characters are so well fleshed out, it's like, like it's weird, but I care, right? That being said, though, just a couple of last things. This is what I mentioned here quickly. The 7th episode, though, really got to me, right? This is where we get the backstory behind Chopper, right? It was
Right.
bordering on some Netflix Frankenstein man tier kind of territory. Like I really felt that, right? But it worked, though. You know what I mean? It's just that. Again, just going back to just how this season was. While I did enjoy that episode, right, I was just sort of wondering, okay, but what about the other acts? Are we gonna get back to those? Are they gonna wrap up? But when we hit the episodes, I was like, all right, I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they're just really gonna let the show kind of, I don't want to say stretch out, but they're just gonna let things play out, and then in the next season they'll just continue on, right? So that's the thing. That's exactly what happened, right? But that gripe aside, though, I still really enjoy the show, right? Again, it just made for a thoroughly good binge, though. Like I was just having fun with it. It kept my interest. I didn't feel bored. I didn't feel too tired. You know what I mean? Like I was just on board, right? Even with all the goofy stuff, even with all the chest puffing and all that kind of stuff, it worked, right? And some genuinely likable characters. So, like for one thing, a couple of like I also mentioned, Captain Smoker. He's one of my favorites. I really dug those two giants, right, in the middle of this season here. Right. Those two characters really had me going, though, and then they give them like this song that they play in the end that was just so boisterous and loud. I was like, well, this is cool. All this is cool, right? Yes, you have a couple of characters who are say just there to get their ass washed in like 2 seconds and that's it, right? But then other characters are just so weird. You sort of watch it like, it's weird, but I kind of like this though. So I'll close this, right? Another highlight character for me was King Wapple, though, right? Right. This guy with this metal mouth, but he also have this hippo kind of outfit on. That's the best way I could sum it up. But he's just such an asshole, dread, right? But like when he gets his comeuppance, it's just like, I feel that though, right? But the story surrounding him was really solid as well, right? So Netflix has done it again. They came through with another solid season of a great anime to TV adaptation, man. I want to see more of the show. I have a feeling that the budget's gonna get bigger and the production design, visual effects are gonna step up even more. But this is a world that I really want to see more of, and I guess like I promised myself years ago when the first season came out, I will do my due diligence and try and like familiarize myself with the world of One Piece even more, whether it's reading the manga or watching some more episodes of this, right? But it's a massive world, and I guess it was just too massive for one season, so I guess that's why season 2 played out the way it did. Gripes aside, but fans will come and tell me, well, that's how the show is. Like, you think this aren't gonna end? No, you're gonna keep on going. I'll be like, all right, well, if you say so. But I felt like the first one at least had, more closure than this one here. Here, a lot of narrative threads was just sort of left open, but I guess the third season we'll see how things play out, right? But yeah, for me, rating wise, I'm gonna give this a decent 4 out of 5, man. I really enjoy this. I could see this being in my honorable mention by year's end. But yeah, Netflix really, really cook with this one though. Yeah, so fans and non-fans could really, really appreciate this, man. I will close this, right? I saw an article. It wasn't AI generated, at least I hope it wasn't. But I think IGN had posted this up like on the same day or a day afterwards when, season 2 of One Piece dropped, right? They were teasing the possibility of doing a live action adaptation of Samurai Champloo.
Okay.
As a man who put Samurai Champloo in the top 5 as far as best anime ever made, somebody who owns the friggin' Blu-ray for that, and also speaking as somebody who owns the Cowboy Bebop series and the movie, right, on home media. Don't touch Samurai Champloo. That's my shit. Or they touch Bleach. That's Ricardo shit. Or they touch that. The one benefit
which I don't remember completely hating. It was
neither me.
They made choices I didn't care for, but it I didn't completely hate it.
Same here too. And the excuse I will give them is at least they kept it Japanese shit. Don't touch Samurai Champloo. That is my shit.
I can't see them pull it off. Let them show it.
If it becomes a reality, I just call this out, right? I just see this right now in 2026. If a Samurai Champloo live action adaptation actually happens, please, at least, even though I don't want to see it, please get some good beat makers to come through, because they can't be resting on Nujabi's music. Like
they had to do both. They had to do both. Like they had to get some classic songs, but also get new material.
Yeah. Get Fly Lotus or somebody. Right, or I don't know, somebody, right?
Yeah.
Don't just recycle old music. That's all I'm saying.
Spirit of Nujabes.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't just recycle old music. So that's what I see, right? Again, Netflix, whoever, don't touch my shit. Like all they touch Ricardo shit with Bleach, that was okay. But don't touch Samurai Champloo, right? Don't touch that. We have learned our lesson from Cowboy Bebop, right? Don't touch Shinichiro's Watanabe's shit, right? Don't touch his shit at all, right? That's all I'll say. But yeah, Ricardo, your thoughts on the show, where you didn't like, and of course rate it.
Yeah. What happens? I don't know how to make a workable comparison because I'm not familiar with the source material, so I don't know what to do. But I just went in and to me, that's kind of the intention of this. Kind of like with Star Trek. It's designed for our audience that's not familiar with the material. Like you have to balance it. We don't have to go back to to 90s Street Fighter where you just do your own thing and you make up a set of bullshit. But you have to put in something fresh, but keep the tone and the aesthetic and the vibe that the manga, the anime have. So you could rope in a new audience and make it work for what it is. And I think for the most part, it did that. As a person who's, I think I know what to look for, and I absorb a couple ideas and concepts from osmosis, just hearing people talk about One Piece. But for the most part, I was like, I don't know what to look for, but I just thoroughly enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think it really, really worked. Yeah, I dug this. Rating so far, I put an 8 out of 10. I don't know what to, again, because I have no working comparison. I'm sure somebody out there might, on my timeline or on my, where does the algorithm or whatever it is, go talk otherwise. But I for what it was, I dug the hell out of this. I had a lot of fun.
All right. Well, before we wrap up here, any particular arc or episode stood out to you, or characters?
No, the whale. I like the whale one. All
right.
I thought that was good. Yeah.
Yeah. The whale one was fine. It's just I don't know, the texture of the whale. I don't know. Just
no. Yeah. Well, as I say, I think James Cameron he put the bar too high. So that's why.
Yeah.
That's why. If it was for them James Cameron Avatar water movies, I would have noticed it as much.
Right.
He make his fake whale look way more realistic. However, it's fine.
Yeah, and you understand where I'm coming from with the material being so massive that they really couldn't wrap everything up in
it's a season. It's I just treat it like a normal anime arc. Because I just think this show could go on 12, 10 seasons, whatever it is, and it'll still be going on because the show is done.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, man. Netflix scores again, with the second season here. I don't know how long we have to wait until season 3, maybe 2 years from now, for all we know. But yeah, they hit goal with this one, man. I really can't wait to see what they give us next with season 3.